I've interviewed so many people now that I can kind of tell what question is fitting for the kind of person. I mean, if somebody's dressed in a really fashionable outfit, obviously we're going to ask them about fashion. If somebody is walking with a friend, they're talking very loud and they seem like they go out a lot, then we'll ask about like relationships or like drinking questions, fun stuff like that. But if somebody's in a corner reading a book, we'll ask them a question, that makes them think a little bit, like something about like, if it was your last day on earth, what would be your final words?
Why is it successful? Like, what are you doing? Formats have been around for a very long time. Like, since like the black and white TV days, what are you doing differently that's really resonating?
I think for me, I've thought a lot about why my show has become so successful, because it was honestly a huge shock to me when it did become so popular. But I've really thought about it, and I think the reason why it's become so successful is I think the show is a very positive space, and it's a very surprising space. You never know what you're going to get, what reactions, what's going to happen. But with every single video, there's going to be a happy, positive energy. And that's what I try to bring. It's who I am, and it's who I authentically want to show, how I show myself on camera. And one of the huge things I've really started to do with the show as well, because ever since TikTok has become so popular, there's a lot of interview shows now, especially in Washington Square Park. Like, there's probably 50 now. I mean, there's so many. So whenever that did start to happen, I was like, how can we make this show a little bit different than the rest of them? And one of the things we started to do was integrating myself a little bit more, and showing my own personal opinion sometimes, and then also asking them questions about me. Like, what do you think about what do you think my vibe is? Or what do you think, having strangers guess things about me, tying it back to me, making it like my show, has been a huge difference from other interview shows, because other interview shows are kind of all the same as well. So I'm like, how can we make it more different? How can we branch out? How can we be the best of the best?
So it's more like two-sided.
Yes, exactly.
You're always a consistent, individual that's in the content, and then it's showing your reaction to new people and vice versa.
Right. Because sometimes, especially in the beginning, it was always me asking the question. I would ask, what are top three fashion trends that aren't coming back this year? And then it would just show the person, and I would kind of be away for the rest of the video. It would just show me asking. But we kind of show the vibe between the people. And I really want to show how energies of complete strangers can match so well, spur of the moment at first meeting, and human banter is so awesome, especially with a complete stranger. It's so entertaining to watch, because you never know what's going to happen.
Have you had fashion brands or fashion events reach out to you?
Yes, a lot actually. Last year I did my first September Fashion Week, and I did a bunch of behind the scenes interviewing stuff. I worked with Tory Burch last year, and I just recently went to Copenhagen Fashion Week with Gani, a fashion brand. And I've done a bunch of fashion work. Fashion's my favorite, and I love to tie in fashion into my show because it's something I'm very passionate about. So it's been really fun to do that.
Well, 2 years ago when you just started out, did you ever imagine fashion being a part of it?
Honestly, no, because my fashion was very different. I've learned a lot, but I really didn't. And
it all worked out though.
Yeah, exactly. I also, one of the huge things, my wardrobe on the show is very strategic as well. And my hair and everything, I really like to give the persona of this 90s beach boy in the city. That's what I like to give. So I always have, I call it what's poppin' attire. It's my what's poppin' uniform. I always like to wear a fun graphic tee and fun baggy pants and sneakers and whatever. I like to make it very welcoming and kind of childlike almost, especially with my flowy blonde hair. It's very strategic.
No, there was one time where I had hair just like yours, right down the middle.
Really? Do you miss it ever?
I didn't have natural blonde. I actually put highlights in there.
Yeah, mine's highlights too.
Oh, is it really? Oh, it's way more natural. With me, it was obvious that I was putting Clorox in my hair. That was a '90s thing. Is using real. What was it? What was it? It wasn't Clorox. I forgot what it was called.
Sun-In?
Yeah. What? Pardon?
Was it Sun-In?
Oh yeah, Sun-In. I did Sun-In once, but then there's this brown bottle, hydroperoxide, or I forgot what it's called, but we would buy that in the store, in a Kmart or a Walmart and do that.
That's serious stuff.
Yeah, that was real serious. So how big is your team? So you're going out there, you're doing these interviews. How many people are there with you?
Typically, there's just two people with me, my videographer, and then I have my assistant coordinator who's there right next to the cameraman. She kind of helps block off people walking through the camera, and then also she kind of has all the questions printed out so I can like have them at quick reference so I can like see what I want to ask these people. And she also has these waivers where people sign after I interview them so that they can acknowledge that they're on camera, like a release form.
Oh, great. And so you have a lot of different questions. Do you literally just like look at someone from a distance and say, this question's for them?
Yes. So we have like different questions for different types of people. I mean, some questions work for everyone, but I really much, I've interviewed so many people now that I can kind of tell what question is fitting for the kind of person. So, I mean, if somebody's dressed in a really fashionable outfit, obviously we're going to ask them about fashion. If somebody is, walking with a friend, they're talking very loud and they seem like they go out a lot, then we'll ask about like relationships or like drinking questions, fun stuff like that. But if somebody's in a corner reading a book, we'll ask them a question, that makes them think a little bit, like something about like, if it was your last day on earth, like what would be your final words? Something like that. So that's something more serious. It all just depends, but definitely it depends on what they're wearing, what they're doing, how they're walking, how they're portraying themselves. Definitely depends on it makes me change the question.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 20.
You're 20. Wow. Yes. Okay. Well, I offered you a drink earlier, so we'll have to talk about what else I can give you.
A mocktail.
A mocktail. Okay, great. Well, how's your family reacting to all of this? Because this is still very new. And you're growing really fast. What is their response? They know this was just going to happen, or please describe like what happened with your family dynamic.
My family is so incredibly supportive of what I do, and they always say that they're not surprised. Like they knew this was coming. It was only a matter of time. That's what they always say. My dad is like the most supportive person ever. He's always on all my, business meetings that have to do with contracts, logistics, stuff like that. He's always on the call. He's very involved. My sister, she lives in New York as well. She comes to like every event with me, and she loves the perks as well. But at the end of the day, they're all very proud of me. And they always say that they're not shocked. I mean, it's so funny. I went to the Grammys this year, and I did a whole, backstage like live pre-show thing. And my dad never said anything about it that I was there. And I called him like a few days after, and I was like, "You never saw that I was at the Grammys? Like you didn't say anything." And he goes, I was like, "Are you proud of me? Whatever." He's like, "Oh, I thought you already knew that. Like it's not a shock. Like of course you're at the Grammys. I would be disappointed if you weren't there. Honestly." Like he's like, "This is it's not shocking at all."
Well, that's the beautiful thing about family. They keep you grounded.
They keep you grounded. They really do. When I go back home, they don't even talk about anything I've been doing. They're just like, "What do you want for dinner?"
Family members will not always know your potential, but they see. I mean, if it's a good, healthy dynamic, they'll see you, and you're loved, and and understood. And that's really cool that your family helps you navigate all of this, because there's a lot of people I know that just do this alone, and it's it's kind of like being in entertainment and getting exposed to fame so quickly is really the school of hard knocks. It's complicated. There's a lot of intentions, a lot of agendas out there that you have to navigate and be very, intuitive on how you address everything. And I'm sure you're already seeing it, but you're probably just seeing the tip of the iceberg of what's going to happen in the next couple of years. There's going to be people coming from all angles, whether it's representing you or trying to get you to pay for something or get behind something. And it gets very overwhelming, and it's really good to have family that can keep you grounded and help you just rationally navigate it. No, that's amazing.
Right, that's so true. It's such a learning curve. I mean, there's so many different things that I never even imagined would be a topic of conversation. But I'm so happy that I have my family to help me. Especially my dad. It's honestly good because he knows nothing about this industry. That he kind of gives his unsolicited opinion, and it
Mm-hmm.
kind of helps from like a third party who doesn't really know what he's talking about. But it's like it's a logistical opinion always. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good. I mean, logistics are always important.
Yeah.
and, and so, I mean, what was probably like one experience, if you can share, that was maybe like your biggest culture shock in this new world?
Probably my biggest culture shock is probably in general getting recognized in person has been like a huge part of my life that I never really considered. I would say like I never thought that that would actually happen. I mean, that's something I always like dreamed of, you know, getting recognized in public. But probably the biggest culture shock I did Pride Festival in New York, and I filmed my show during Pride because I mean it's a good time,
Mhm. Yeah.
and I couldn't film the show because it was literally every 2 seconds somebody was coming up to me, and it was the most rewarding and like amazing thing to meet my followers in real life. And it was pretty crazy. Like, I mean, I took so many selfies that day, and it's so fun to see my followers in real life because you know you see these usernames and you sometimes don't even think of them as people. Sometimes you just read something and you're like, oh wait, wow, you're my age. Like I don't know why I don't know. It's very like it's a very weird feeling to see people IRL that follow you.
And has it gotten exhausting at all? Like with people recognizing you so often?
It doesn't get it never gets exhausting. It took a lot of like learning and navigating, like for me,
Mm.
because in the beginning I would every person that came up to me I would talk to them for like 5 minutes because you know I was so excited to meet them and I wanted to know about them and I wanted to know about the people that followed me. Where and then it got to a point where it was kind of you know it would take me an hour to walk like 10 minutes because I would talk to everyone for so long and I love to talk. But one of the biggest things I've like navigated is you know having you know, boundaries and saying thank you and whatever, but life must go on. You must go on with your day.
Mhm.
That's kind of been the biggest thing that I've learned. And just really much, it's been a lot of learning.
No, that's great. No, that's fantastic.